Amanda Becker, and welcome to my show about breaking barriers, where we explore the lives of iconic women in our society who have served as pioneers in their fields. I have sent out my co-host Jordan Simpson to interview Wanda Jackson. Wanda is considered the first lady of rock and roll, as well as the queen of rockabilly. In 2009, she was inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. She just released a new album produced by Jack White of the White Stripes called The Party Ain't Over. The album is number 20 on the Americana Music Association chart and the number 1 downloaded album in the iTunes rock genre.
I understand, Jordan, that you have some questions for me.
Yes, I would love to ask you some questions.
Okay, let's get started.
Okay. When did you first realize that you could sing, and when did you actually realize that you wanted to pursue this as a career?
I believe, Jordan, believe it or not, I was about 6 years old. My mother would have me sing in the bathtub so she wouldn't have to sit in there and watch me. But as long as I was singing, she knew I was okay. I hadn't fallen or was drowning or something. Of course, I played one good trick on her once, but I got in trouble for that, so I didn't do it anymore.
Probably a good decision.
Yeah. But my dad was a musician, and so from the age of 6, he put a guitar in my hand, began teaching me chords, and being music lovers, both of them. They went to dances on the weekends in Los Angeles when we lived there, and they danced to the music of the big Western swing bands of the day, and this would have been in the 40s. Bob Wills and the Texas Playboys. It was like an orchestra, really. They had horn sections, 2 and 3 violins and things, but it was Western swing music. And so I would go with them to the dances. I'm an only child, so they would just take me everywhere. And I would stand all night at the bandstand and watch the music. And when the girls would come up to sing, that's what I liked, because they wore the sparkly dresses, and they all would do a cute little song with some yodeling in it. So when I said, this is what I want to do when I grow up, well, the first thing I had to do, I thought, was learn to yodel. So I'm not sure how I did it, but I did learn to yodel at an early age. He left me this morning, midnight turning day. He left me this morning, midnight was turning day. I didn't have no blues till my good man went away. De-o-de-lady-o, lady-o, lady. I-le-o, lady. But I knew from that moment on, and I never did vary from that dream. That was my dream. And I just didn't let anything stop me. It's all that I prepared for, you know.
Now, in the beginning of rock and roll, you were the only woman singing that type of music. What barriers did you have to break down in order to be accepted by the audiences those days?
Well, I guess there were many, but I was quite young. I began touring and recording, when I was 16 when I recorded, 17 when I began touring, and had already had a couple of hit records and all. So I already had a bit of a name established, and I was so young. I was 17, and at 17, you're fearless. And so I didn't really think about things as a barrier. I guess I always kind of liked a challenge. And other words, I kind of liked being the only girl on the show. And, well, what young girl wouldn't?
That's true.
Especially when you're having the attention of Elvis Presley and Johnny Cash and Jerry Lee Lewis. So, yeah, I was enjoying it very much.
As you just mentioned, you toured with such big names as Elvis Presley, Jerry Lee Lewis, Johnny Cash. That's just to name a few.
Yeah.
And as like you said a minute ago, you were the only woman on tour with them. What was it like being the only woman with them, and how did they treat you? Did they censor themselves around you at all?
Yes, I'm quite sure they did. But Jordan, I have to tell you that there were many reasons why my father traveled with me. He was, of course, a big help. We had to drive to all of our dates. We didn't make enough money to fly, and flying was, pretty expensive. So we had to drive. So he did my driving. He did the collecting of money, keeping track of things, which I'm not very good at. And so he was very important. But another thing I found out as I was growing up, he came along to keep my reputation intact as well as taking care of business and things. So, yes, the guys would certainly censor themselves.
You talked about, your career. It would have been a better choice maybe to move to Nashville, but you stayed here in Oklahoma City. Even, through all those endeavors with living here in the city and staying here with your family a lot of the time, why do you think your career has still been thriving after 6 decades?
Well, I think it's called a blessing because Wendell and I now are used to this lifestyle of being together and moving around the world now. I travel around the world, and we get to meet all these fascinating people and see these beautiful countries and things. And so, what was the question?
Why do you think your career is still thriving after 6 decades?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I get
course.
sidetracked sometimes. So, but I think that's a lot of it. We're so happy with it. Also, there's something, Jordan, about the early rock music, the original that all of us sang, and it's appealing to every generation, it seems like. Somewhere there's always pockets of fans around the world for this type of music. So as it's gotten even more popular and more to the forefront the last few years, it's really helped me in my career as far as I can work larger venues. I can make enough money to fly to these places. I don't have to drive anymore. So there's a lot of advantages, but I think that's why it's strictly the music.
Well, you were talking about how the music industry, new things have been introduced throughout the years, and with your career, it's the same way. Can you think of one moment that has totally revived your career?
Yeah, I can. The year I was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which was 2009, I was just thinking after that, it was so exciting and such a big night in my life to be accepted in that arena with my peers, that I thought, now where can I go from here? This is the top of the heap. And how much longer will the crowds want to just hear my old classic songs? So that thought was just kind of in my head when I got a call from this young dynamite producer guy named Jack White of the White Stripes. So he was interested in doing exactly that, sparking my career.
Okay, well, I hope you don't get mad at me for saying your age. It's honorable. No. So
I'm kind of proud of it now, Jordan.
I would be too. So you're 73 years old, and you just released a brand new album with hot young producer Jack White.
Yes.
Okay, as a woman of your age, what has this whole process been like for you, the whole recording process with Jack?
It's made me feel like a teenager. I mean, it's been a shot in the arm. And what's so wonderful is I am around young people all the time now. My audiences, my bands. Like last evening I performed here in Oklahoma City, and Jordan was there. So my band is younger than my kids. And the audience, I have quite a cross-section of ages in my audience, but 90% are young adults. So I think it's helpful to an older person as we get older to stay around young people, to pick up on the new ideas and not get old fogey and not wanting to stay home in my rocking chair.
Yeah.
Because there's just too much going on. I'd miss out on everything.
Too much life to live.
Absolutely. So I want to live it to the last drop.
There you go, some great advice from one of the main barrier breakers of music. Live it to the last drop. Now don't forget to tune in next week for our surprise guest. It's one that you don't want to miss.